Now, I'm a big Buster Keaton fan, and when I saw that Liberation Hall was releasing a 2 Blu-ray set of the Buster Keaton show, I got very excited, and I really enjoyed this set, giving it away up front. I really enjoyed this set overall. I'm going to tell you what's in it. I'm not going to break down every episode, but what this is basically is 9 episodes of a or 8 episodes of a very short-lived Buster Keaton TV show that was done, I don't know if it says what year, the 50s, the 60s, 1950. I think it's a little unclear because there's a couple things that are on here. Anyway, what this is basically is a weekly TV half-hour black and white sitcom that starred Buster Keaton, more or less as the Buster Keaton character, who worked in a sporting goods store, and each week some customer would come into the sporting goods store looking for something specific, for something they were going to go and do, and then that would take him out of the sporting goods store, out into the world, helping them or dealing with them or whatever. It is shot single camera, shot on film, so think Leave It to Beaver, the look of that show. Studio sets, I don't think there was really much exteriors. I think this was pretty much all shot at a studio. And some famous faces. Well, if you love old classic comedy from the 40s through the early 60s, faces you would know. Margaret Dumont is in an episode. Fritz Feld is in an episode. And he shows up not as a maitre d', and I'm like, oh wow, he's not a maitre d'. I guess he's not going to do the pop thing. And sure enough, the character that he is, like 30 seconds into him being there, he does that thing. So I'm sure it's like if you would cast Fritz Feld knowing the kind of character you were going to get out of him, and I almost wonder if he insisted on the pop thing, like if he would say, it's not in the script that I do the pop, but people see Fritz Feld on the screen, they're going to expect the pop. You don't give them the pop, you're going to have an unhappy audience. So anyway, Fritz Feld is in it. Edward Ullman, who was involved with a lot of Three Stooges stuff over their glory years, was involved in this show, and it's just fun. It's Buster Keaton being like incredibly spry and physical at the age of 60 or whatever he was around this time. I'm trying to do the math. He had to have been around 60. And he's doing all kinds of crazy physical stuff, which he did pretty much up to the end of his career. He just kept in really good, even if he didn't look like he was in good shape, he could still do this pratfalls and acrobatic stuff, and just amazing. And just, it feels like Buster Keaton shorts brought into the modern day. And as far as I know, everything he ever worked on, he always had input into the gags. He was a gag man, and he would either reuse things he had done in his silent era, or he would come up with new stuff based around the situation, much like Jackie Chan later was. I think my introduction to Buster Keaton was through Jackie Chan, because I was a huge Chan fan just before he hit here in the mid-90s in the US. And I always had heard that Gene Kelly and Buster Keaton were big inspirations for him. So I started to watch those films, and I was just like, my God, these guys are amazing in what they did. So if you're a fan of Buster Keaton in general, this is absolutely a set you want to get. It is multiple episodes across 2 discs. I want to say it's like 5 episodes per disc, and then disc 2 has a lot of extras. The first disc is also features an episode with a gorilla suit actor, which you put a chimp, a monkey, or a gorilla in something, and I'm happy. And it's like the classic gorilla suit, but it goes in a direction that you do not expect it to go, utilizing that gorilla suit. And it becomes very surreal and bizarre and wonderful. Disc 2, it has 2 episodes on it that were not seen since their original broadcast, but they are kinescopes from an earlier show that he did, more of like a live TV. Think about the old Jack Benny show that was done on a stage in front of an audience with a curtain that would open and close and things like that, in the live audience reacting. The majority of episodes on this were the ones that were the single camera done on film. Those don't have an audience. I don't believe they have a laugh track on them. They just feel like you're watching a film or a short film. The ones that are on here, the not seen since original broadcast, are kinescopes that have the original commercials in them, which predominantly are commercials that were done there on the stage, where somebody holds up a product and says, the new Edsel is what you want to drive this year. It's usually laughing and going, well, Buster gets out of that situation. We want to talk to you all about Spam. So those are in there, and those are interesting. They have a different feel to them. They're very funny. And again, Keaton is very physical in these things. It really shows that his roots in vaudeville as a little kid that actually had handles sewn into his clothing so that his parents could throw him around on stage and manhandle him in crazy ways. He carried that through for the rest of his career. So the episodes are very interesting. It is a Blu-ray. The greater use of this being a Blu-ray is that you can fit more on the disc. The quality really looks like it's an old standard def tape master that was upscaled to some degree. They're not super sharp. I looked at this on a pretty big TV, but I was across the room. I wouldn't look at these up close because you would see sort of where the seams are showing, so to speak. Some of them, the quality is not great, but it's still cool to see. I had no idea that this thing even existed in terms of the show. I never knew he did this show, so it's a gift for me to be able to get these in one package. I don't imagine that it looks any worse than any other releases of this. I just don't know what the sources were for these. These certainly are not from camera negatives or original prints. I think these are from an SD video source that has been, filtered to whatever degree they can to make them look good for Blu-ray. There are extras. Actually, I have in my notes that I'm cleverly concealing off camera. The last episode, I think it is, February 2nd, 1950, looks like it may have been an upscale from a low-res YouTube video because it does not look that great on a large screen. It's heavily filtered. The sound is super flangey and sounding like it was filtered to try to bring more clarity out of something that was pretty muddy, but still, it's cool to see and you can still follow it. I always say, somebody who used to be heavy into videotape trading on the internet in the early days, before you could torrent things and download things and send files and look at things on YouTube and everything, you were getting copy of a 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 copy that might not have looked that great to begin with. And you would sort of squint and let your brain do the interpolating to try to make what you were looking at look better or look passable. So I can deal with some pretty rough quality if it's seeing something that's very rare. Now, if this was a major motion picture that should have been widescreen and looked glorious and it looked like that, I would have written it off. But for what this is, it's just cool to be able to see it. So the extras on this, the extras are all on disc 2. You get something called Circus Time. It's 7 minutes. It's an excerpt from a longer TV show that I think had a bunch of circus-themed acts. Think like a proto Circus of the Stars. And it was a silent routine that Buster Keaton did, and it was introduced by Paul Winchell, which is kind of cool. And it's basically Buster Keaton and a younger helper as that old comedy trope, the guys who have the paste and the brushes and they're putting up a billboard poster somewhere. It's just slapstick hijinks with that. It's very well done, very funny. 3 comedians in close-up. This is 16 minutes. This is all black and white. Everything on this is black and white, by the way. It is a talk show or an excerpt of one with Buster Keaton, Burt Lahr, Cowardly Lion, and Eddie Foy Jr., who's an old-time vaudeville comic, talking about comedy, talking about old-time comedy versus then modern comedy and what you need to make a joke work. It's 3 guys sitting around with a host, smoking and drinking coffee, and it was fascinating. To me, it might have, I hate to say it's the highlight of the set, but I love Buster Keaton so much, and I love hearing people talk about the mechanics of comedy and what works. And they're talking about it like they're talking about building bridges or something. They're very serious, but they're talking about how you do a joke, how you throw a pie. Buster Keaton demonstrates on the host how you throw a pie and what the pie needs to be made of. And he's sitting there with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, telling you how the pie needs to be composed. There's something somewhat similar that exists with Mo Howard of the Three Stooges, where it is a bunch of comedians sitting around a table just telling jokes and talking about showbiz and stuff. This is more serious than that was. I would love to see, I'd say I'd love to see the whole thing, but it looks like this is the entire segment from a longer piece. But if you get this set, you have to watch this. It's fascinating. 3 comedians in close-up. This Is Your Life, an episode of the Ralph Edwards long-running TV show, This Is Your Life. That's Buster Keaton, where they surprise him coming out of an office, and it's Buster Keaton, this is your life. And they basically introduce rapid fire people from his life telling stories about him, and you get to see him get kind of emotional and get excited about seeing people he hasn't seen in decades. And it really goes from his childhood, talking to his siblings, to people he worked with, and people who up to Donald O'Connor, who was then about to play Buster Keaton, or maybe they'd already shot it, but it hadn't been released yet in the Buster Keaton Story theatrical film. So that's very cool. That's been out and about, but it's nice to have all this stuff in one place. You get Cops from 1922. It is the original, one of his classic silent shorts that is, I think, public domain. So it doesn't look that great. There are far better looking copies of it. Kino, I know, has beautiful, I think Kino Lorber is the official company releasing the Buster Keaton silent shorts on home video, and their stuff looks amazing and has tons of supplements. But again, it's nice to have here, and if for some reason you've never seen this, it's just phenomenal and amazing. And then there's one called The Goat from 1921. That is 19 minutes, and it is another Buster Keaton short of the classic period. If you've never seen anything Buster Keaton, go immediately somewhere else on YouTube and look up one of his classic silents. He's the guy who set the mold for Jackie Chan. He did amazing stunts. It's all real. It's all practical. I find him hilarious. He's my silent comedian. I've got nothing against Chaplin or Harold Lloyd or other silent greats of the era, but to me, Buster Keaton is the guy that most speaks to me. So packaging is a little something like that. Fairly simple, front and back. Cracker open. You've got the 2 discs. Front, very simple. And this is a cool release. If you're a fan of silent comedy, I would highly recommend getting this. It's really cool to have. I'm sure there were more episodes of the Buster Keaton Show than are contained here. I think this is all they were able to get. I would love to see more one day because it is just a cool thing to have. And it's nice to spend a half hour with Buster Keaton. So available now from Liberation Hall on Blu-ray, maybe DVD as well, is the Buster Keaton Show.